So what's up, everybody? Trip Morgan here for Panthers Source. We are 6 days away from a live kickoff, and we have an official final 53-man roster. Billy, it's getting close, my friend, and we know who's playing now. We weren't far off in a lot of our predictions.
Yeah, we were like 99% correct.
99. I'm not good with that kind of math, so I'll let you handle that thing. But I felt like there was a couple that we were on the fence about. The wide receiver, running back position. But we're going to break it all down here for everybody today. If y'all would, right now, go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe on all of our platforms. We are coming at you live through Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitch. And if you're listening later, we're also on your favorite podcast platforms, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. As always, subscribe to those things. Leave a review if you can. It always helps. It's as simple as this. If you're watching live right now, it's just that easy. It's at Panthers Source on everything. So, with that being said, Billy, I think we should get this thing started right. And we'll go ahead and, what's up, Antonio Carell, 365, checking in. What's up, buddy? Glad to have you here. Let's go ahead and hit on something that came up yesterday afternoon, actually, with more offensive line updates. Matt Khalil has been put on IR after his knee surgery, which, this is already – fans were already upset with this initial signing of him originally. $55 million, a lot of dough going out to a guy who had one good rookie year and has fallen off really since. And coming into training camp, all the talk from Rivera and the coaching staff was how healthy this guy was. And and now he's – his knee flared up at training camp. He missed preseason game and some practices, goes and has to get his knee scoped, and now here we are, and he's getting put on IR. So it's upset a lot of fans, understandably. But the good news with this is Taylor Moton is going to hold down the left tackle spot for at least 8 weeks, potentially. Yeah. Well, that's what we're assuming.
And if Moton keeps up how he's played, Khalil's lost his spot.
Yeah.
He's going to be sitting the bench.
And I know, and ideally they'd like to have Moton at right tackle. But the good news also with that is another update with this offensive line shuffle that we've had this last month is Darrell Williams returned to practice as well as Amini Silatolu this week. And Ron Rivera wouldn't give a specific update on whether he felt like he could play week one. Of course, Darrell Williams was asked about it, and he said, I'm taking it day by day. But he said, if I feel ready, I want to go out there and play. I mean, you expect the player to say that, but so that would be a huge boost to depth and obviously starting. So some interesting things there, and we'll get to more of that as we start breaking down the show and these roster spots. So speaking of, why don't we go ahead and jump into it? Right off the top, we'll get to QB1, Ace Boogie, Cam Newton, a.k.a. a.k.a. Ace Boogie, Taylor Heineke, as Cam likes to call him. These are the guys we kind of chose as our top two. I think it was obvious Heineken had kind of held down that second job after the first preseason game. So that's the spot there. Not really shocking. Are you shocked?
No.
Not really shocked.
Those were the two I picked.
And y'all, I know a lot of y'all have still been commenting after this roster was set about other potential backups. There was rumor going around that the Panthers should show interest in RG3, who ended up actually making the Ravens 53-man roster. Wasn't a big fan of that one necessarily. Maybe depth, okay, but he's just as fragile as any other quarterback. So
yeah, I hopped in the comments on that, and I posted he just made a glass.
Yeah.
If we get to him, we might as well have a wide receiver as quarterback.
Antonio Carell commenting in, Khalil should be arrested for stealing money. Woo! I knew that was going to upset some people. Moving on, running back. This is one that was kind of controversial when we were talking about. I saw, throughout Twitter, we kind of mentioned it on the show. A lot of people were saying they could see him keeping both Cameron Artis-Payne and Kenyon Barner. Not the case. Christian McCaffrey obviously has that number one role. He's been getting a lot of work in the preseason. We're all looking forward to that in the regular season. C.J. Anderson picked up in free agency again, got the number 2 spot, knew he'd be there. And Alex Armah was really at that fullback role, put him in there with the running backs. But the decision we kept talking about was Artis-Payne or Kenyon Barner. Who's going to come out on top? I mean,
And Artis Payne came on top because of the special teams aspect of a wide receiver is what I believe it finally came down to.
Artis Payne or Kenyon?
No, with Kenyon
Oh,
Barner.
yeah.
Payne made the team
Right.
because he was a better running back, but Barner
Yeah.
was outranked in special teams.
Yeah, right. And that's what we were thinking. You know, they brought Kenyon in. We drafted him originally. He's been with the team. The staff knows him somewhat, and he has those wide receiver capabilities, like you mentioned, and the special teams factor. And that was really the edge. But when it came to the running back, you know, Artis Payne just held it down. And
Yep.
the fact that he got pulled so early in the other game the other night kind of, we mentioned, signified that it could be Artis Payne's job to lose. And then for a minute there, it looked like Kenyon Barner was going to go out with an injury, which really would have just scratched the surface. But he came back and played. So, but look, Kenyon Barner, I'm a big fan of the guy. I wish him the best of luck moving forward. I expect him to land on a roster somewhere. He's definitely got some versatility. So that pretty much sums it up with the running back situations. I know some of y'all were happy and unhappy with this. Like I said, I saw people on Twitter thinking they were going to keep both. And with the offensive line situation, I just didn't see how that was going to be the case at all. They ended up keeping, I think it was 10 offensive linemen. We're going to get to that right here in a minute. But you can't keep all these guys on this roster like that. It just wasn't going to happen. And then moving on, the wide receivers. This is obviously the other one we kind of mentioned. Devin Funchess is your number one. You got Torrey Smith, DJ Moore, Jarius Wright, Curtis Samuel, and Damiere Byrd. Byrd was on the fence.
Yep.
We hit on it a dozen times, but it's worth coming back to. We both felt like he should be on it, especially after last year's depth situation.
And it was Byrd had the special teams edge over Barner. If Barner's on the team, Bird's gone.
Yep. So. Yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the things we kind of hit on. If Barner makes this squad,
yep,
it could hurt another position number spot like Damiere Byrd.
Yep.
And Barner didn't make it, which is one of the reasons we didn't think Barner would, by the way, is obviously the offensive line, but also we felt like Damiere Byrd is just
edge of the mountain special teams.
I think with the special teams factor, he flashed a lot last year before his injury. He's just gotten better each regular season as he's been on this team. So I was a big fan of that move. Love Damiere Byrd. Hopefully, I feel like he's going to he could be the starting returner. DJ Moore is obviously still a rookie, and he's kind of down on the, he'll get some rotation at wide receiver, but I don't think they want to thrust a rookie straight into that receiver role where he could potentially get injured. I think you could see Damiere Byrd doing that because he's going to be further down the depth chart at the wide receivers.
And I'm not a fan of Torrey Smith still.
Yeah.
And I told you that post that I read the other day that talked about the reason we kept him was a veteran and his speed, and all these wide receivers except for Funchess are faster than him. He's number 2 because he is a vet, but I think Samuel at some point in the season is going to become the number 2. That's how I feel.
I would love to see that because Samuel is just. I've expressed on the show enough my love for Curtis Samuel and his potential. So we'll have to watch that moving forward. With
Samuel last year, I was like, This year, seeing the little bit we saw last year, and then this year, just his fundamentals are so much better. I think he'll be a number 2 before the end of the season. Yeah,
and checking the YouTube chat live right now. Antoine Henderson's in here. He's saying he's clocked in. The old guy from Detroit is a great run blocker. He's talking about a trade we made. We're going to get to that offensive line in a second. Antoine saying Cam Newton, the monster of Westlake. But and he's commenting some more. Artis Payne doesn't fumble anymore, cuts on a dime. I hope he doesn't fumble. That was one of the issues we've had with him on the show and fans alike. So that's something I'm going to have to keep an eye on too. Tyrell Payton commenting on saying he felt Mose Frazier should have made it over Damiere Byrd. And this is something that got brought up in our other show as well. And Frazier actually did make the practice squad. He cleared, and nobody picked him up, so he's on the practice squad. He still could go somewhere. He tied for touchdowns in the preseason among wide receivers. And, he really had a good preseason last year. We kind of talked about it, and we were kind of wondering if he would make it back onto the practice squad because we know the Panthers, Rivera stated, it was kind of a risk, but their hands are tied. We got some depth this year. So that's something else. And then we were talking about quarterbacks earlier. Kyle Allen also made the practice squad for the Panthers. So and we'll get to some of these other guys on the practice squad when we hit their respective positions. So that was happy for Mose Frazier to be on the practice squad because he actually did end up playing some in the games last year with all the injuries at wide receiver. So moving on, offensive line depth chart. This is really where the shakeup took place, with all the injuries and stuff. Talking about numbers of spots at other rosters. The Panthers ended up keeping, obviously, the Ryan Cleo, Trey Turner, Van Roten at left guard right now, Darrell Williams, Brendan Mann, the undrafted rookie out of Penn State that I've been a big fan of since we made the signing. I've been talking about him on the show. The coaches have really shown him a lot of love and given him chances and reps. So it's fun to see that he actually made it. They didn't want to let him go. Matt Cleo, Taylor Moton, the second-round guys starting at left tackle we mentioned earlier for Matt Cleo now. Tyler Larson, and then they traded a 2020 conditional pick for Corey Robinson, a right tackle. He played right tackle for the Lions anyway. And we'll see where he ends up playing into this. This guy's 6'7", 315 pounds.
It's a big dude.
Yeah. And I watched a little bit of his tape. I posted it up here for everybody to see. If, that size is evident. I mean, he towers over some of those defensive ends. The only downside is speed rush could be a problem, and it kind of showed up on the tape I posted where they played the Tampa Bay Bucks. So that's something. I'm sure this is kind of more of a depth move, especially, with Darrell Williams potentially coming back week 1. We don't want to rush Darrell Williams, obviously. Rather him get completely rehabbed. But it's nice to pick up somebody else. And, they cleared up some room for that by turning some of Luke Kuechly's contract money into a signing bonus, clearing up about $5 million, I think, and they gave him a $6.8 million signing bonus or something. So that's ended up how we ended up getting Corey Robinson, making some move in the cap there. But like we said, Taylor Moton now, Matt Cleo was out, Taylor Moton in at left tackle, as far as we can see. I mean,
yeah,
and until stated otherwise, which would be 8 weeks if he stays healthy. That's when Matt Cleo can return. And I'm going to go back and hit the YouTube chat where Antoine was commenting. Go ahead.
On the Panthers' official depth chart, they have Robinson playing both sides, left and right, on the depth chart.
Okay, cool. Thomas Hayes, I think Taylor Moton will forever be left tackle up there in the YouTube chat. And look, I'm not, a lot of people, I'm a fan of this too, Thomas, by the way. A lot of people were talking about how they didn't want Matt Cleo Taylor Moton moving from right tackle to left tackle. And my thing about this was, they were saying it's not smart. And my thing about this was in preseason when they were making this move. Why not make the move? You got a guy that's smart, that the coaches have loved. We've been pulling forward to play left guard. And then we moved him over to the right tackle, and everybody was like, yes, and he looked good. When you get an injury at left tackle, why not move him to left tackle and give him the chance? And he looked good. I mean, sure, he's still had some bumps in the road. He's still going to take some time to develop, but he's only going to get better with the more reps he gets. This is a smart guy. This is why the Panthers like drafting versatile offensive linemen. And I agree. It's like, Billy kind of said to open the show, I feel like this is a guy that could potentially take that spot over. We'd already said, when Darrell Williams went down and Matt Cleo was still playing, we were like, well, if Darrell Williams, at the time, we were worried about getting put on IR. If he hits 8 weeks on IR, Taylor Moton could take his job because Darrell Williams is in a contract year, and that's going to hurt him. So, Williams wanted to get back. Now he's been shuffled over to left tackle. Musical chairs on the offensive line. I really feel good, with this starting lineup anyway. I just hope they can all stay healthy and we get Darrell Williams back and continue, because I agree, Thomas. I believe Moton can take that spot. Let's see. Donald McKinnon, looks like we got a Saints fan in here saying who dat on the YouTube chat. Antoine Burrs, talking about Burrs, 2 touchdowns against Green Bay. Yep. Really flashed towards the end of last year. And Marcus Stafford, hopefully Cam's accuracy will be better for this season. We're hoping so under Norv, but completion percentages and everything in the NFL, and it's stress for people to remember that, especially when he was down to guys who don't even make the team on other rosters last year at wide receiver. So, there's that. Let's check Facebook right quick. Get y'all's comments over there. They must not remember Jordan Gross moved from right tackle to left tackle. Antonio Carrell. Look, and I mean, especially like my biggest thing about this is if this is the regular season, I can kind of see you worrying, but Taylor Moton has shown nothing wrong to not be able to move and play those versatile positions. So I'm not freaking out about that. Tyrell Payton, Matt should just sit the bench. Such a waste of $55 million. Well, yes and no. Look, Matt has struggled. Khalil has struggled. We know that. But you could also do much worse. We've talked about this. Yeah. But if Taylor Moton is in there for 8 weeks and stays healthy and continues to get better, yeah, it's going to be hard for even a guy you're paying. And it's going to be hard to trade a guy like that if you want to get rid of him. So it's going to be something to watch. It's going to be something to watch, guys. Moving on to the defensive side of things for a minute.
What? I think it's interesting that Manhurst is in front of Thomas. I mean, he is a rookie, but I thought Thomas had a much better preseason.
Is he ahead of him?
On the official Panthers depth chart.
Oh, no, well, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't like that at all. If that's how they're going to rule that, because I thought for sure, I still see Thomas as the number 2 tight end in this offense, and I actually had that graphic somewhere in here. I thought, but apparently I don't. So yeah, that's fun. What a fail trip. But anyway, we'll talk about that too, because Chris Manhurst is coming back. He's off the PUP list. He's cleared his physical. Ian Thomas and Greg Olsen could be a really good duo this year, and like we were just saying, I don't see Manhurst taking that number 2 spot back. Yeah. If he goes in there and Manhurst is playing over Thomas week 1 and rotational position, I'd be pretty shocked and a little disappointed, to be honest. Ian Thomas has shown everything we wanted to in the preseason, and I just don't think that would be fair, especially with Manhurst actually still coming off the injury. So, Josh Kurtz, so glad Khalil's on IR. Oh, you savages. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball.
So, if things don't go right, Khalil on IR and Shula gone, who do we blame? We're so used to blaming the same people over the past seasons. It's going to be new targets.
You talking about if Moton doesn't work out?
Yeah, if Moton does. I mean, if this offense just, it's always been damn it Shula, damn Matt Khalil, and now it's all new.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. We kind of talked about it. It's exciting to see all of this, but at the same time, we need to understand it could take some time to develop. But Cam has always been better when he's able to spread the ball around and not force it. He has that now in this offense. And Norv Turner, I've already liked what I've seen in a vanilla offense in the preseason with quick passes, underneath check downs out of Cam, and Norv works wonders with QBs over the years. We've talked about it. So we're just gonna have to see. But if it does, it's just we'll find somebody to blame. I'm sure. It just all depends on how it goes down, and we'll watch that. Defensive end, this doesn't, Julius Peppers, future Hall of Famer, bam, that's my man, the GOAT. Mario Addison on the other side, fun, great story with the international player. F.A. Abada makes the final 53-man roster for the Carolina Panthers, essentially edging out last year's draft pick in Deshaun Hall. And, he was a guy that we said probably would be on the practice squad. I didn't see him making it. He didn't do a whole lot in the preseason after coming back from injury. He had 1 sack in the final game, but really nobody blocked him. I mean, he just ran straight up. So, Marcus Haynes, guy I'm a big fan of. We talked about speed rush off the edge. He could be huge on third downs and stuff like that. It's going to be fun to watch. And then your other 2 regulars, Brian Cox Jr. and Wes Horton. We know those guys have rotated in there for a couple seasons now and have really provided some good depth, especially Wes Horton. I mean, it seems like every time he's in there, he's getting a strip sack, forcing a fumble somehow. So that's good. And hopefully this is going to be, this front 7 is going to be so key going into Dallas week 1 with Ezekiel Elliott. We don't have to stress that enough. And another part of that line we'll go ahead and hit on too is the defensive tackles. Kawan Short, Dontari Poe, Vernon Butler, and Kyle Love. That's you talk about Kawan Short, Dontari Poe, Julius Peppers, and Mario Addison. 4 guys on that defensive line. Whew.
So it's a nasty squad.
Oh man, I just love saying that over and over. It's so much fun. I can't wait to see this in the regular season. Hopefully this, works out as well as it looks on paper.
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest thing to watch. Because until it's put on the field, it means really nothing. But I have faith, and I know 3 of these guys can do it between Short, Peppers, and Addison. We saw it last year. Hopefully Don Terry Poe can bring in some of that all-pro stuff that he's had in the past and really contribute and help out and replace Star Lotulelei. Then Vernon Butler, first-round draft pick from a couple years ago. Fans are kind of on the fence, I know, about how he has really worked out and stayed injured and whatnot. And then Kyle Love, who got famous on Instagram for his belly picture this offseason. Still a hog molly. Yes, I'm still using hog molly. Still a hog molly down there and takes up a lot of room down there in that defensive tackle spot. So got to keep those guys. I'm looking forward to that a lot. Tyrell Payton saying Haynes is a stud over here on Facebook Live. Yes, he is. Haynes dropping back in coverage will be special. Antonio Carrell, I completely agree. Really plays a lot of that joker role is what they're calling, and that's exactly what they like Marquise Haynes to be at. And I'm excited to see him. It's good to actually start seeing some more rotational players at defensive end.
Yeah.
Something we've missed in the past. So moving on, let me check YouTube too. Keep forgetting we're live on so many places now.
Yeah.
Billy, I can't. It's hard for me to keep up. Look at all these guys jumping in YouTube chat now too. Catch up with y'all here. Oh. Donald McKenzie, will McCaffrey be in every down back on YouTube chat? Yes, he will. I mean, and all signs have pointed to that in this preseason. I mean, Billy and I have talked about it. He's gotten just about every snap with the first string, and Billy's really upset he hasn't gotten them in fantasy football.
Yeah, that's I've tried. I can't.
You're gonna see Billy like make a crazy trade just to get Christian McCaffrey. Look, he's so upset about it. Actually, before the show, he was saying he's wondering if in our keeper league if he should have kept Christian McCaffrey over Antonio Brown in the PPR league.
But in that league, the amount of running backs that were left by the time it got to me in the second round, sixth pick, I got nobody running back.
I know, yeah, but you got to take. I mean, you're not gonna be able to get everybody.
I got Alfred Morris.
Well, he's a starter.
I mean, he's a starter.
He's not Christian McCaffrey, but
but that's all I have.
He's Christian. I mean, Antonio Brown's can get targeted. I mean, Antonio Brown's a dude, man. He's like one of the few wide receivers that is a wide receiver one every single year in fantasy.
But I could get two middle of the road wide receivers, one top running back and one middle of the road running back. Instead of have one really good wide receiver and trash the rest of the roster, except for Aaron Rodgers.
That's funny. Let's see. Antoine Henderson, Ian Thomas is open on every play as he is unguardable. He's looked good this preseason, man. Do the Panthers need to play more man? Antoine Henderson, no, absolutely not. We saw it last year. Mix it in here and there. Don't do it every play. We're not going to do that. Let's see, Marcel Fletcher. Do you think Cam Newton is as good as he gets, or can he be better under Turner? I think he can definitely be better under Turner. I think we could really potentially see that, especially with a full off season of being healthy. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We've kind of hit on that all off season. Tyrell Payton, C-Mac will have a 1,000-yard year. If he's healthy, I said it earlier in the other show, somebody asked that question. It may have been you, Tyrell. I completely, if he's healthy, I see him getting 1,000 yards because the way they were working him. Now, granted, if he's getting work like he has in the preseason, it's a lot. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot, but they said 25, was it 20 to 25 or 25 to 30?
20 to 25 touches. Yeah. But
that's also receiver looks, too, out of the backfield.
How long can that go on? Like,
as long as it's working and he's healthy.
But that's the thing.
It's like, I want to see.
Yeah, like, I want to see it, but that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I don't know. We'll see. Moving on to some more positions. This is a popular one as well. The defensive backs depth chart. James Bradbury, Mike Adams, Captain Munderland, Denoris Searcy, Rashawn Gaulden, Colin Jones, and Corn Elder, and also the one everybody's looking forward to watching this year, Dante Action Jackson out of LSU, Panthers second-round pick. We're expecting a lot out of this kid, and he's gonna be thrown to the wolves early. Didn't even have to play in his fourth preseason game. Coaches have been so impressed with him. I mean, what do you think about all those, Billy? You liking what we've seen there?
Yeah,
so far.
Seymour's ass is on IR, so that's a good thing.
And that's the big thing. We talked about him, being edged out late because he hadn't been getting many snaps, and then we found out why.
Yeah.
IR.
So I like the Jackson starting. Corn Elder. He played out in the preseason.
Yeah.
I think he's a good defensive back core. I'm glad Seymour will be on IR.
Let's see.
Because I feel like they would have
Yeah, we don't wish injury on anybody.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want
yeah.
an injury, but they would have forced him in. And he makes
See, I don't know.
bad decisions and bad plays.
Yeah, I don't see him. I don't. Well, he can. He was also versatility with that nickel role, but I don't see him pushing. I don't see the coaching staff pushing him in over Dante Jackson the way he's performed. But you could do worse.
But if they knew at the time, Dante Jackson didn't play in the fourth game. We didn't see Seymour halfway through the second game, so he was already injured.
Yeah.
So at that point, they already had, with depth,
yep.
They already had a decision made. But if he's still there, then Jackson may be number 2.
I'm waiting for the Captain Munderland's trash comments to start coming in. It seems like every time we bring up his name, it gets thrown around. Denoris Searcy, again, in case you missed it, is out of the concussion protocol, is back, returning to practice. So we're expecting him to be good to go for week 1. With Gaulden, obviously, going to be backing him up, the rookie draft pick from this year. So, and then you got the vet Mike Adams back there. I think this is solid. I hope to see a little bit more out of James Bradbury than we saw last year. I feel like Eric Washington, new defensive coordinator, taking over, is going to do more zone stuff and try to get pass rush just off the front 4, not as much blitzing as we've talked about with Steve Wilkes last year, hopefully, anyway, because we can't be sending blitzers every play.
Yeah.
And like you said, I was really impressed with what I saw from Corn Elder in the preseason.
And, it's free safety, strong safety, whatever safety. They have Colin Jones backing up Searcy on their official.
Really? Yeah.
And then Gaulden behind Mike Adams.
And Colin Jones has that experience back there. We talked about it. He makes terrible plays and then he makes great plays. So he's really wishy-washy. But, again, his special teams role is so valuable for the Panthers. He can get down the field on punts and stuff, kickoffs. So that's pretty key. He makes a lot of big plays there and is really good at that. And then rounding out everything, and then we're going to hit y'all's comments for a little bit, is the specialist position. And that would be obviously Graham Gano, Michael Pilardi, J.J. Jansen, the long snapper, Pilardi's the punter, and Graham Gano, the kicker, who just got signed this offseason to a big deal. Hey, specialists need love too.
Yeah.
I mean, there ain't a lot of them, but especially Graham Gano, because we could be in some close games this year, and field goals can be key.
In the preseason, we had a lot of field goals. Our history is field goals, so
yeah,
I did draft him last night.
That's going to be the biggest thing for us, is something I want to see is moving forward and actually converting those goal-to-go situations, and that's something I was hoping to see in our preseason goal line, but it didn't happen, but we're also not unleashing everything. Yeah. Like I said, just a couple times I felt like Cam would have taken it on the rollouts, and then, of course, he goes and dives for a first down and nearly breaks his neck. So
I feel like, in the regular season, the play is written for him to roll out and take the ball himself.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's see here. Hit y'all's comments for a little bit before we get out of here. Let's see. I'm gonna go catch up where we're at. Aaron Davis, how will they use DJ Moore? I hope they get him a bunch of touches. It really remains to be seen. He's been in a little bit of this preseason. The first game obviously showed out later in the game, but outside of that, we haven't really seen. But this offense is still, I mean, you're not seeing everything we're going to see in the regular season. I feel like, he'll be in there rotationally. I kind of think Torrey Smith has still got that veteran, experience. He's going to probably get to start opposite Devin Funchess. And then you'll see him roll in and out with Jarius Wright. That's pretty much what we've seen in the preseason.
And even, early in preseason when Moore did show up that game, the wide receivers weren't getting the ball. It was the McCaffrey show.
Yeah.
The whole first half.
And we did see, it seemed like when Moore was targeted, it was a lot on wide receiver screens. You remember, Moore is dangerous after the catch. His run after catch ability is the biggest thing for Carolina in that offense. And that's something they're going to want to try to get him in space and just let him do his thing. He has, it seems a couple of times he's struggled to get separation in the preseason. We'll see how it goes moving forward. I know a lot of people are upset about this Torrey Smith stuff. Until he is a complete failure in the regular season, I'm not dogging Torrey Smith for anything. Preseason is preseason. He doesn't have to go out there and have 200-yard games or something stupid. Nobody does. So I think that's. Julius Peppers isn't playing in preseason. Obviously, he's a future Hall of Famer, but I'm not going to waste so much in preseason on these guys. I do believe a guy like Curtis Samuel is better than Torrey Smith, and obviously he's shown that in the preseason if you're judging just off that. But I think his ceiling is just much higher than Torrey Smith. We know what we're getting with Torrey Smith. That's why I'd like to see Curtis Samuel in more than Smith, but you have to trust that the coaches have a plan for this offense and schemes for each game, and that they're going to use that. Norv Turner does well at adjusting. Torrey Smith talked about that.
Well, and the thing is, that post I told you about, he's there for speed. They don't say he has great skills. They don't say he has good hands. They don't say he can run routes. They say he's fast. 7 years ago, this is what his 40 was, but now, 7 years, it's slower than that, and you have all of the receivers besides Funchess that are faster than him. So and then the veteran, thing,
Yeah.
but you have a receiver that has one less year than him on the team. So I don't really agree with having him as of now. We'll see. Maybe he'll make a difference. Maybe he won't.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing bugging most people is the $5 million contract. We traded and absorbed the $5 million, and I think it's like we just freed up $5 million in cap space with the Luke Kuechly deal, and fans are like, oh, we shouldn't be taking Kuechly's money where we're not. It's actually guaranteed money for him, so that's a plus for Luke. But they're saying we could have cleared $5 million by dropping Smith. But again, we think we have good receivers right now going into this season depth-wise compared to last year. I mean, Torrey Smith, you could do a lot worse than Torrey Smith.
Oh, you could do worse.
And now the problem is obviously everybody thinking he's the number 2 receiver. We got a long season ahead. We don't know what's going to happen. If Curtis Samuel continues to show out, they're not going to have a choice.
And I think it's that veteran status putting him at number 2.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, over Samuel, who we haven't seen for a whole year. So
you got to think too. This guy is bringing 2 Super Bowl runs with 2 different teams. He knows what it takes to get it done. He's played well in those playoff runs for the teams. I mean, he was huge for Baltimore. He made big catches against Atlanta last year in the playoff run for the Eagles. You can't just count this guy out. Yeah. He knows how to do things when it's crunch time. So we could maybe cut him a little bit of slack being a veteran and the experience he does have there. So at least this year anyway. We'll see how he performs, and if he gets bad, we'll continue to.
And talking about veteran wide receivers, Tryhard Panther asked, "Do you guys think we're going to sign Des Bryant or another receiver in free agency?" Absolutely not signing Des Bryant.
I wouldn't even think. We probably won't touch free agency at all. I would guarantee that 99% positivity. We've got 6 receivers. It's the most we're gonna keep, and as long as they're healthy, we're gonna be fine. Donald McKenzie on YouTube chat asking, best fantasy wide receiver, Samuel or the rookie? That's tough. I would say Moore, but Samuel I believe has a higher ceiling. If he's getting his looks anyway, but DJ Moore is probably going to get more reps and more targets this year. But both of them should be bench stashes. Neither one of them should be starters. Underground West on YouTube, keep pounding everyone. Yeah, you keep pounding too. Ooh, I messed that up bad. So back to y'all's Facebook comments here. Let's see. Josh Kurtz, we excel in the zone as long as we can get pressure. Yes, I completely agree. That was my biggest thing last year was the man-to-man just didn't suit us. It wasn't great for our personnel, and it showed. And Eric Washington, I think, is going to let that front 4 and sometimes 7 when he has to take control and just rush the passer. I mean, you got 11 sacks for Julius Peppers and Mario Addison, each had 11 last year. That's pretty strong.
Yes.
And you add Quan Short in the mix, and then Dontari Poe. Hopefully he's still doing his thing and bringing it. And he provides a little bit more of a pass rush than Star Lotulelei did.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it. Josh Kurt says he also wants to see more press from the DBs. Yes, I agree. Playing off, Billy and I were fussing at the TV left and right the other night, but a guy like Dante Jackson can do that because he has the closing speed, and we saw it against New England Patriots. So that'll be something to watch moving forward. Again, we haven't seen everything from this defense. Hopefully there is some not so much cushion given out. Let's see, Aaron Davis. I would like to see CMC and CJ Anderson in the backfield together, and maybe bring CMC out wide as we get a matchup on a linebacker or safety. Oh yeah, well they're going to do that. They did it all last year. Of course, it was Schuler, but if there's one person that can do it and cause mismatches, I think it's Norv Turner.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. We haven't seen any of real football. It's just throw and catch. Like
that's really what I'm looking to see moving forward out of this offense is the adjustments. That's been the biggest talk out of Norv, and even like I said, Torrey Smith and these receivers and these guys making the in-game adjustments to better the offense. We didn't see that a whole lot out of Mike Shula come out in the second half, and it just looked like we were doing the same thing: run the ball, pass quick, get it to McCaffrey, and so on and so forth. Nudie commenting on Facebook Live. Still wish we would have signed a safety or cornerback. Yeah, I wouldn't have been upset with that, I guess. Cornerback maybe more so than safety. I'm not terribly – I mean, we could be better at safety, but I'm not as worried as a lot of people are at safety. I think the North seriously could be fine, and the coaching staff seems to have liked some of the things they saw from Golden. I know we did see him take a bad angle on a deep ball in the preseason game. That was kind of disappointing. Yeah, sure, we could have somebody else. I know we were looking at Barry Church a few years ago, who's now with Jacksonville. That would have been a very nice addition. And, of course, we lost Kurt Coleman. He was on his way down, so freed up some money there. But, I mean, I don't really know who else would have been out. I know Ron Parker is out on the block again, who a lot of people were saying bring him in. He got signed to a one-year deal with the Falcons this offseason after that long hiatus for safeties on the free agent market. And now he just got released. So is that somebody we really want, to bring in that other teams are releasing left and right that you might have to pay a couple $1 million a year? I mean, I don't know. That's debatable, I think. And then Corey Coleman, wide receiver, former first-round pick, moved from the Browns to the Bills to free agency.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of Panther fans are clamoring for him. But why are we going to bring in a guy that's getting released by other teams? There's probably a reason, and I like our depth right now.
How can you not make – well – the Browns are showing that they're going to be pretty good this year, but how do you not make the Browns?
Yeah.
I think I might be able to make the Browns on a certain day.
They moved. They did move some. They did make some moves this year. Jarvis Landry and bringing in some other guys. And who knows? Des Bryant still may end up there. Nah, I don't think so either. I don't know where he's going.
He's asking for too much money. He thinks it's like 5 years ago.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and I think Tony Romo leaving hurt Des Bryant, and but you can't go off of what could have potentially been your past 2 years. You haven't earned the money right now. You had a pretty damn good offer from the Baltimore Ravens on a multi-year deal, and you passed it up because you want a prove-it deal. Fine, I get it. Go after your money, but you can't be expecting a $7 to $10 million deal 1 year. Prove it. It's just not going to happen.
How old is he?
He's, I don't know. 20,
he's been in the league for
28,
a while.
29?
Really? He's that young?
I think so. Torrey Smith's 29, I think. No, something like that.
Maybe.
Might be thinking about right. Now I'm getting them all confused. You're confusing me, Billy. Nudie, we don't need another wide receiver. No, I mean, we're not going to have another one unless we have an injury. 6 is plenty. Checking y'all's YouTube. Let's see.
He'll be 30 this year.
Who?
Des Bryant.
Yeah. So he's still got some run left in him.
Old ass baby.
Little diva there. Try hard Panther. Which players do you think should get traded from the Panthers? Should get traded. I don't know. There was people brought up Vernon Butler for offensive lineman at one point, which actually made some sense. But I'm kind of happy, as I stated before. I'm happy with where this offensive line is at, starting wise. Anyway, depth still a bit of concern, but who are you going to get to fill that defensive tackle role if you get rid of a guy like Vernon Butler, despite his injuries? Obviously, Matt Khalil is a big option right now. If he comes off of IR and Taylor Moton does well, I just don't know anybody that would absorb that big contract. Would you pay for it?
It's a lot of money.
No. And, he just hit that bonus money, too, when Carolina kept him on the roster this offseason, which we knew was going to happen. He wasn't going anywhere.
For $55 million, you got to
I just
it's
don't
hard for a team to part.
I don't understand it, man. That's, Andrew Whitworth should have been the left tackle in Carolina, that free agency. There's really no excuse. And you went out and broke the bank for Matt Khalil. It's so frustrating as a Panthers fan to sit here and know that. But, hey, what can you do? We're going to round out the practice squad for you guys right quick. Quarterback-wise, we talked about his name is so hard for me to say for some reason. Kyle Allen, running back Reggie Bonifon, Wide receiver Mose Frazier, we hit on him. Tight end Jason Vanderland. This is a good one because he really flashed this offseason training camp, and then had some injuries and battled it through preseason. And the game he played, he looked really good. Guard Taylor Hearn, offensive lineman Dorian Johnson as well. Defensive end ECU graduate from last year, Keontae Anderson made the practice squad. Good news there. We're out at Greenville, so we're Pirate fans. Unfortunately, this year we just lost to an FCS school, so we're not going to brag too much about that. Defensive tackle Kendrick Norton, cornerback Cole Luke, who was a training camp darling and preseason darling last year for the Panthers. Not a whole lot out of him this year. And then safety Desmond Southward, who had flashed last year in the preseason for potential depth and then got injured. Haven't heard a whole lot of him this offseason. And then, of course, we drafted the safety Golden in this year's draft. So kind of puts him back there on the depth chart. But that's rounding out the practice squad for now. So, but that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good roster-wise right now. Ian Thomas and Greg Olson is going to be really fun to watch. Glad we got Demir Bird for the special teams and depth at wide receiver. As I stated, offensive line and starting offensive line is expected to be left tackle Taylor Moton, left guard, and the left guard spot really depends on Amini Silatolu.
Yeah.
I mean, because what the coaches want to do. I feel like we obviously know Van Rotten should be, or Roten. I don't want to call him Rotten because it is one T, but we obviously know he's the superior left guard to play there. You also got Tyler Larson, but he's really the backup center. So left tackle Taylor Moton. We'd hope for Van Roten to be left guard. Center Ryan Khalil. Right guard is obviously Pro Bowler Trey Turner. Just got a big extension last year. And then right tackle, we kind of expect maybe Corey Robinson if Darrell Williams doesn't come back, isn't ready for week 1, but then Darrell Williams would fill in that spot. So it's really going to be interesting to watch. We're going to have to see how it all plays out. It should be some holes open for the running game. I expect and Cam to have some time. It looked good in the Patriots preseason game anyway. Oh, and Aaron Davis, I think we could go 11-5 and win the division. What do you guys think? I think that's a fair record number. I said before the year I could see anywhere between 12-4 and 11-5. That's kind of what I said last season as well. And that's really mainly depending on how well this offense gels together and the defense shows up.
Yep.
I think an offensive gelling and coming together with new weapons and a new offensive coordinator is really going to be the biggest key. Mary Hollingsworth, 13-3. I would love that. That's a potential number 1 seed. Robert Langan, are we hiding A. Smith on the roster until TD comes back and then try to slip him into the practice squad? We didn't hit the linebackers, did we? We sure didn't. Wow. But we'll hit those right now because I'm glad you brought that up, Robert, because I completely looked over that graphic. So Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, Andre Smith, Jermaine Carter Jr., Jared Norris, and Ben Jacobs are the linebackers we kept. Now, keep this in mind. Thomas Davis is out the first 4 games for suspension. He doesn't count against the 53-man roster during that time. That's why Andre Smith is in here. And for those first 4 games, it might get some looks, potentially, depending on how everything plays out. And also, David Mayo's on that list as well. But I expect Jermaine Carter and Andre Smith, really to get those reps at that other spot and place of Davis. Jermaine Carter's had a really good training camp and preseason, the rookie. I'm really excited to see what he could potentially bring as well. And then you got Shaq Thompson over there on the other side. We've been talking about it. Everybody's saying it could be the year of Shaq. I'm hoping so. Just don't line them up against the slot receiver.
Yeah, and the official chart they have is Shaq, Luke, and Mayo.
Shaq, Luke, and Mayo. Yeah. And I figured Mayo might have to start because he's been here a little bit longer and he's really looked good too. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about that kind of, when we drafted him and let AJ Klein go, that was really the reason because Mayo had stepped up and has looked really good. So, I'm really this coaching staff has actually really done a really good job and organization of keeping stud linebackers in Carolina during Rivera's tenure. I mean, Rivera was a linebacker, so I guess it kind of makes sense. He knows what he's looking for. Obviously led by the Luke Kuechly pick in 2012. I mean,
it's crazy. It's been that long already.
Yeah. He's only like the greatest if he stays healthy, he'll be probably the greatest linebacker to play the game, potentially one of them, if not. Mary Hollingsworth basing her projection off we play against the Saints and Falcons on average, win and lose, then there'll be 1, maybe 2 losses. I'm still with 13-3. But this is going to be a tough division this year.
Yeah.
It's going to be really tough. So, we lost to the Saints 3 straight times last year, so remember that. Got to get that one back.
Yeah, I don't want to get swept again.
Nudie, you think we're a little too loyal to Ben Jacobs? Time to cut him loose and give others a look, either linebacker or secondary. Ben Jacobs is another one of these guys that is a stud special teamer. That's one of the reasons in here. So, Mary also saying she likes Mayo. He steps up. Yeah, he's been quite a nice find. And that's it on the YouTube chat for now. So, but yeah, guys, that's our 53-man roster. Looking forward to the season. We got 6 days, and we're going to be doing our previews sometime soon this week. We'll get you an exact time on that. But y'all be sure to like and follow us again right here on the page. We will be doing the post-game show live following, hopefully, a big Cowboys win. We'll give our a big Panthers win. Ooh,
Say, oh, man,
blasphemy there.
Sides.
I meant a big win over the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And we'll be giving our projections in our preview, so stay tuned for when we drop that. But we'll be taking your calls and comments live on the show Sunday after the game, so be sure to like and follow here. We got an event up. It'll be posted again. You can hit going on that to get notified, and we'll be doing all of that. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. Really built on this thing last year, so let's do it. And we'll be in touch about that preview in the coming days. For Panther Source, I am Trip Morgan.
Billy Harless.
Y'all keep pounding, and we'll see you in a couple days.